Good afternoon, everyone. It's Brian Caprice from Keep Trading Simple, and welcome to this week's Nadex Weekly Market Analysis. So, hope everybody's having a good start to the week. It hasn't been the, I don't know, rock'em sock'em week that we've always seen, although there has been some volatility that's been kind of creeping up here and there. So, um, it'll be definitely an interesting week to do some analysis because it is going to be a little bit different than what we normally see, just based off some of the different events out there. One caveat as well for those of you that are in attendance now, there's always a couple of people showing up late, but if you guys hear a really loud aircraft, for those of you that don't know, I do live in Annapolis, Maryland, where the Naval Academy is. It is the Naval Academy graduation this week, and the Blue Angels are practicing today for the big, I guess, the big ceremony tomorrow or Thursday. I forget what one it is, but they literally turn right on top of my house. So you don't realize how much noise and how much power those things put out, but everything shakes in the house because I live right off the Severn River. So if you do hear something really, really loud suddenly like that, there's not an invasion happening. It's just, the Blue Angels practicing for the day. Anyway, with that said, let's go ahead and jump into it. We'll start off with our Nadex. I guess hold on, all the buttons are moving already at this point. Everything's jumping. Um, Man, May 25th. I can't believe we're already there. For those of you that don't know me, let me give you a quick rundown. Like I said, today's broadcast will be a little bit different, but if you guys are new, welcome. You guys know that my analysis is a little bit different than a lot of other people out there. I'm a price action trader. I rely upon supply and demand. I do not, here's my caveat, I do not have a crystal ball sitting on my desk. I don't know what's going to happen in 2 or 3 hours from now. You guys may have heard it before. I am an if this, then that style trader. I typically focus on really kind of risk to reward and using supply and demand and previous buyers and sellers to figure out where my trades are going to be. I'm very big on money management. You'll hear me talk a lot today about risk to reward ratios. That's definitely something I focus on a lot. I'm a very big believer in stacking the odds in your favor as much as possible. Statistics is one of those things in life that I don't, I'm not Han Solo. I don't, my car is, I don't have the Millennium Falcon as my vehicle, my main vehicle. So again, I don't rely on luck in my entire life, right? I rely on statistics and numbers. So you'll notice that in a lot of my chart setups. I've been trading for just over 20 years now. It's crazy that I can say that, but really from the tech bubble, the 1999 timeframe. So I've seen a lot of up, downs, lefts, right, sideways, heard a lot of things. You always get that one person that says, well, have you tried this before? Yeah, probably. I've tried a lot of different things, and I'm a big believer in doing my homework and kind of back testing and things like that as well. So um, with that said, I've developed a number of different strategies that I use not only with Nadex but also external. But in regards to Nadex, I'm definitely a big believer in using technology. If you guys are not using technology in your trading, you're doing it wrong. I don't believe, and this is I wholeheartedly believe, there's no reason why you need to sit in front of a computer for 18 hours a day trading. It's something that if you guys are using technology the way that it's supposed to be used, you can do a lot of your homework on the weekends or when the market's closed and off hours, and then really have your positions, kind of set up and ready to go during your time when you're trading. Okay. Um, I did spend some time in one of the big three advisory banks. I won't tell you which one. It doesn't matter. It is one. I think they are still number three as far as assets under management. It gave me a different outlook. I am not a 12th generation trader. My dad actually was a programmer for IBM. So I learned like most of you guys and girls probably started learning, right? You guys had books, and we didn't really have YouTube when I first started, but there was a lot of seminars I went to and really tried to kind of learn everything I could. I did a lot of the wrong things, and then I went inside, again working for the big banks and institutions, and really kind of opened my eyes to kind of what I assumed happened, which was the exact opposite of what was actually happening. I didn't realize their focus is much different, and realized very fast that my true passion was really teaching people how to do this themselves, not managing money for people, but having them and empowering you guys to do it for yourselves. And I left and went back out and been a teacher ever since. So um, I do stay very, very busy, but I love doing these presentations for Nadex. I've been doing them for about 4 years now. And that's me in under 5 minutes. All right. So before I dive into charts, let's go through our Nadex risk disclaimer for the day. That trading on Nadex involves risk and may not be appropriate for all members. Or for all members, risk losing a cost and other transaction, including fees. You should carefully consider whether trading on Nadex is appropriate for you in light of your investment experience and financial resources, and any trading decisions that you make are solely your responsibility at your own risk. Now, past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. None of the material presented herein is to be construed as a solicitation, recommendation, or offer to buy or sell any financial instrument on Nadex or elsewhere. Nadex is subject to U.S. regulatory oversight by the CFTC, and Nadex is a registered trademark of the IG Group. So there you go. I was like, oops, it's not working. Nope, we're not done yet. All right, so the mouse doesn't want to work today, the mouse wheel. Oh, sorry about that. So the agenda for today is we're going to cover the upcoming news events. Normally we spend more time on this. This week is a little bit of an anemic week. There's not as many news results or news events being kind of published. And that happens, right? But we'll see where the best opportunities are and things that you need to watch out for. Today, the market has been pretty much dominated by headlines, not necessarily economic news releases. And we can kind of set you guys up on how to trade those. Then we'll dive into the indices in particular. We'll see kind of where the trading opportunities exist for the rest of the week. Indices today actually had quite a bit of a turnaround. And again, that was actually an economic news release turnaround today. And that may kind of lead us down to some interesting buying levels, which I think for the rest of this week, I think we'll have some good opportunity. Then we'll dive into Forex. Now, Forex has been flat for the last day or two. It's had enough movement that you can still trade it with Nadex. But as far as major, full-blown trends, we're not really seeing them right now. And then again, it's because a lot of the questions about the recovery are still out there. And again, we kind of need some economic headlines. We just don't really have a whole lot right now, fortunately. But last but not least, we will dive into commodities. Now, commodities, we're going to talk about gold, silver, and oil in particular. There are other ones that are obviously exist and that you can trade at Nadex. But we're going to focus on those three. I just heard one of the planes is coming up again. They're not doing the turn on my house. They must be doing a different type of trick. But it is building if you guys hear it. But we'll cover those three and kind of see where the opportunities. Don't forget, oil inventory reports are always on Wednesdays. Next week will be Thursday, but this week we do have one tomorrow. And in a few hours, we actually have the API report. And yeah, oil's been a decent mover so far today. Hopefully you guys have been able to take advantage of that. So with that said, let's dive right into charts. We'll come across over here. I'm going to start off with Forex Factory because, again, it's an easy place. I can talk about the 24-hour pip changes right up top. And I like how their news is kind of right in your face. Daily FX is another one you can use as well. That's actually up on another one of my windows over here. And again, they also have an economic calendar. You just go over here and then boom, here's your economic calendar for the week. And there's a lot of different settings. I like Forex Factory because it puts it right up front for me. I use both. Again, notifications come through on Daily FX. Right now, you can see in 24 hours, there's not really a lot of movement. You're basically getting more or less. I mean, there's a little bit of dollar weakness still showing. You're getting a little bit of pound weakness. You're getting a little bit of euro strength. But right now, if you look at the movement in the last 24 hours, all of these are well below a 24-hour ATR. So you could say, is there much movement? Answer is not really right now. Only news we had this morning, and again, I say only, but this turned out to be a pretty big mover. 10 a.m. we had CB consumer confidence. Now, I was actually, when I originally started to look at this, I said, hey, listen, it's expected to be lower, but if this comes in higher, it kind of met what I saw technically on a chart, on a technical basis, technical analysis-wise. Coming in at a disappointment and the changing of the previous number, that's something I didn't prepare today. And again, there was a big reversal in the markets for that one. And again, it's kind of interesting hearing some of the other things that we've seen that, the Fed is, the no inflation posture and the Fed analysis. And again, we've seen a lot. I did not expect this one. I was actually expecting a beat today. And again, this is why it's important to understand that with every trade, there is the potential for you to lose, right? Like I said, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know every news release. I can look on a chart and tell you what I kind of feel. And again, every trade needs to be set up with an appropriate risk for, again, an appropriate reward on the other side. But that's one of the trades today that we had. And again, this changed the market's trajectory for the day. Now, going into tomorrow, and this is actually the rest of the week. I just clicked all the way down. So this is actually going to next week. We really only have to focus on from here to here. There's not a lot out there. Actually, let me click this for all this. I know there's a little bit more than that. It's still to there. Not much more, right? So we did have good German data earlier today. And again, that's why we're seeing the euro up a little bit and the euro pound up a little bit. For the rest of the day, we really have nothing. Right, we have New Zealand data coming in at 10 p.m. tonight. Now, we don't trade New Zealand dollar on Nadex in general, but typically what happens in Australia can also happen inside of the Australian currency pairs, and you do have the ability to trade those. So there may be some movement. I'm not expecting any type of rate changes tonight, but the monetary policy, they may mention recovery as far as New Zealand goes. So, there's something in there, but really, I mean, compared to what we normally have, not a whole lot. Tomorrow, Wednesday, We got oil inventory, and that is it. They're already putting in a forecast of, a down draw of 1.0 million barrels of oil. Not really a lot. You remember last time it was basically dead on, right? When I say dead on, I mean it doesn't give you a color. It wasn't statistically significant difference between the two. It was within the margin of error. So again, it's very rare that we do have a miss, right? And it's important to talk about that. We had this one here last time. We had one in January, and then when you go back, you can see that all of these, all the way back July of last year, all the way back to June, there was one in 2020, and that's it. One miss in 2020, and we just had one that didn't miss. So, kind of preparing for some type of a miss, whether it's higher or lower, we'll have to see on a technical basis what makes sense. Now, Thursday, we do have preliminary GDP that is considered a high effect pair, right? Or a high effect news release. Now, previously it was 6.4. They're expecting another 6.4 again. That's good, but there's been quite a lot of disappointment, things like consumer confidence, some of the unemployment numbers. So I'm actually wondering this week if the market's going to set up for this to actually be a miss to the downside, maybe like a 5.7 or a 6.1, something along those lines. Again, that could really set the market tumbling as well, with the GDP lower than what's expected. Now, unemployment claims are coming in. Those have been kind of funky lately as well. And then pending home sales, which is not really a big mover. Those are all things on Thursday. It really gives us a pretty decent shot of having some movement, especially with a lack of news Monday and Tuesday, and really even Wednesday, I guess, right? Now, Friday is also an important number. Now, core PCE price index is something that most of you out there probably have absolutely no idea what that means. Am I telling you that you need to go get a degree and get out there and go figure out and take a macro or microeconomics class to figure this out? No. What you need to do, and again, both websites have the same ability to do it. Click on and figure out what it is. It basically, it's the change in the price and goods of services purchased by consumers, not manufacturers, consumers, you and I, excluding food and energy. Okay. This is a gauge of inflation. It's expected to be 0.6. We've been hearing a lot of stories about inflation lately, about how we're seeing it. They got to acknowledge it. Couple of the news releases, and again, there's one over here that the Fed's no-see posture. We're talking about Larkin, talking about, I see price pressures, and there's a demand out there, but we're hopeful that we're on the brink of completing the recovery. We're seeing inflation, but they keep talking about how it's not really a big deal, right? That it's going to be transitory. Well, I'll tell you right now, it's expected to be 0.6. If this comes in anything at 0.6 or higher, we're probably going to see a nice little pop in gold, right? If we see anything lower than that, it's going to be a rough week for gold. And the reason why is because they said we would see transitory. We're going to leave these low interest rates further. If we're not seeing this number as high, again, why would they be raising interest rates if the inflation rate is not going any higher? And again, dialing it down into things minus food and energy, and we know there's a lot of inflation right now in oil. This shows us that, hey, listen, there's not really inflation. There's no reason to talk about raising interest rates, which again hurts gold, but helps the overall indices, right? Again, you're not going to raise interest rate. You're not going to tighten monetary supply. This is it. There's a little hidden number right here. So, obviously the preliminary GDP, if this is negative, there could be some big movement. But this 8:30 Friday morning, and again, it's before news, it may be before you get to work, I think stands to be kind of the news announcement of the week. Okay. And again, even if it comes at 0.6, then it's kind of an acknowledgement that we're seeing inflation, and it's kind of like, when is the Fed going to do something about it? So I think regardless of what that number is, I think that has the ability to move the markets, and again, lead us into kind of a low, a uneventful Friday, or could it give us with a feel good type Friday kind of movement there, right? Based off of that number. Again, holiday weekend, so I expect it to be not as good as if it wasn't. But important number to, needless to say. And again, it'll move the indices, it'll move the dollar, it'll move a lot of different things out there. So important number to watch. All right. And then Sunday next week, again, Sunday night, manufacturing PMI. This is China, right? China starts getting negative numbers here. They were at 51.1. If they break the 50 number, that shows that they're having, more of a contraction in their manufacturing division or, sector. So I don't know. If China's contracting, that says a lot about what recovery looks like on a global spectrum as well. And again, it empowers the United States to not raise rates, keep things the way that they are. And again, business as usual, right? We continue to roll business as usual. That's it. I wish we could spend more time on this and say that, hey, listen, there is a lot more news out there that we need to watch out for this week. But unfortunately, end of May, this is kind of it. This is what we got. Obviously, next week will be the first weekend in June. So we will have some non-farm payroll numbers. It'll be a much busier week next week with some blockbuster-based numbers. But unfortunately, this last week of May is never really a big one. So not much more we can do within that. So we have to go down to a technical basis. And again, it's one of those things that it's important to say, if you don't find a setup, don't force a trade, because when you force trades is where you tend to get, kind of eaten alive with sideways movement. So it is what it is. All right, let's jump across and go over to the indices. So we'll start off with ES. So ES, we were looking for price to rally higher, and we were kind of basing right across. And you can see that all of a sudden, right around the open / the 10 o'clock time frame, there was a quick reversal. We were looking for this to go up higher. We were looking to see if we can get up to 42.24 today. And all of a sudden, bam, U.S. market opening crashed. And what happened? The consumer confidence number came in negative. Now, I don't think a lot of people realized or expected that. I think that surprised a lot of people in there. And again, it really kind of sent the market rolling down. So, could you have traded this one on a 15-minute basis? It was already starting to line up like it wanted to roll. And again, a lot of times you see market before it released. And actually, this drop started at 9:15 today, which again is kind of one of those telltale signs like, listen, we got a group of sellers right there. We've already hit it once. It was confirmed. Remember, the way to trade the indices is always on the 15-minute time frames, okay? Particularly if you're going to be day trading these in the morning. Now, were we looking for it to go long? Yeah. What we were hoping we'd get up and stabilize, and we were waiting for the news to propel us. When you see something like this, and again, consumer confidence being lower is obviously something that's negative for the overall market. We got this basing and then a continued push down. Whenever it starts to move before news, it's kind of one of those things that somebody knew ahead of time, right? And again, there was your setup. There was your morning push. Again, this established itself at the European Open. I'll just move this off so it's easier to see. There is your 3 o'clock candle. Right there is your 3 o'clock candle. So we know that this is a legitimate zone, right? Session open. Came back down, tested at 6, came back over, and then boom, 9:30 is right here. Touched it, off to the races to the downside. Okay, we are in the pink area, so we're looking for shorts anyway. So it makes sense. It was a trade. Is there much we can do with it now? Not so much, right? We're pulling back to a level right now, but I feel like now the market has already absorbed it. It's going to prepare for the rest of the week. And again, seeing confidence low means that they were most likely not going to change too much of a trajectory of kind of interest rates. We are pulling back to this old level, which we were looking for the break of yesterday, and that's kind of where it turned, right? It kind of came down, grabbed the same buyers that were sellers here are now buyers on this side. So right now, I would look for, I would say probably today movement higher. I mean, we're going to obviously, just like we had a selling zone here, we do have a little bit of selling right in this level as well. And again, we'll see. But I would say that this is almost kind of a takeoff point for us to close higher. Again, negative news is always bad, but it also means that not much is going to change, that the entire U.S. is going to get to stay with these low interest rates longer because, we're not seeing it. Is the consumer as confident? No, but it's still pretty high, right? It's still pretty high. And now, again, the Fed is saying that, Barkin earlier says, yep, we're almost done completing a full recovery. So, there's a lot out there to be, happy about, okay? And again, if you guys are looking for the break of this, again, wait for it to break, and you can even use this as a pullback. We can change this around. It is right around the 4,200, right? Again, round number, psychological. Look for a punch through, a pullback, and then look for this one to go higher. I think we do get up to that 42.24 this week, though. And again, it could be Thursday's data. It could be, GDP is better than expected. There's a lot of different things out there that could be really, rallying this one higher. But, right now I'm not looking for a major collapse. I'm looking for this to push up and, again, break through this 4,200 and continue to push higher. NQ had more or less the same setup. We were looking for this to go as well. And again, we pushed up, we pulled up, and again, it came up 9:30. It grabbed the same exact level, right? There's your level of basing at the UK Open, right? Here's your 3 o'clock candle right here. Here's your test at 6. Here's your quick spike up, your grab, and continue push down. Now, this one actually had a lot more room to run, and I'm actually surprised that it turned where it did. I was looking for this one to kind of retrace this entire area, come all the way down to 13,513. 13,513. That was the last time we had a really big push. And again, that was at the U.S. market open. So here was your U.S. market open. Here is your UK open, right? Here is your U.S. open. And now all we're seeing is it to start to retrace back again. So we know we have a level right between here at 13,662 and 13,689. I would say that this one, I would assume that it would come back up again. Am I willing to take it long from this level? No, I mean, this pushed up. We've been here 2 times now. This will be hit number 3. I would say this one is making a great case. If it can hold this level, right? If it can hold this level, I would say that this one probably does come back up. And again, the question is whether or not we can force our way through this level. Depending on when we do it, I think it has the ability. I mean, it got turned around. I like how the second wick was higher than the first wick. But levels that I'm still looking for, I would say, is buys coming down here at 13,513. I would say be cautious, and again, use your profit taking up here at 13,794. And again, this is a level here we can watch out for. We've seen sellers come in at 13,729. Let me bring this up one higher. I want to see. We have some sellers sitting here. I was trying to see. This one has been really pushed, but there are definitely some sellers sitting in there. Wanted to see if I'd be willing to take a long out of the top side of that. I definitely think I would be. I'm going to keep this on the radar for later in the week. A break of 13,825 or 823. Yeah, we'll probably hold that. And again, here was a small one on the 13 or on the 15 minute. If you wanted to establish it from here, you could have done the same thing. There's your movement. Actually, there's the 3 green. Yeah, so you can see the touch in the second touch. That's an interesting setup. I didn't see that one earlier. So there is probably a break. Here, I'll show you why. Your 1, you got your 2 in there. Yeah. So we got 2 hits now. Let me shrink these a little bit. Right there. So we're at 2 hits now. We can probably get one more hit off of that level. And again, that level is coming in at, just so everybody can see it, 13,7, oops, not that one. 13,734, right? We got 2 touches. We're looking for 4 as being the breaker. So there's probably one more sell. And again, if we can get up to, let me see, European session starts here, right there. If we can rally up the rest of today, I could be sold on to getting this one short one more time out of that European session. And we'll see how that kind of rolls out again. This is the hourly. We got to drop down and look at this one on, kind of a 30-minute or even a 15-minute. Again, we've got sellers in that level twice at 13,734. I don't know that we'll be able to bounce off of it again the rest of today. It is 12:30, so we need a lot of movement for the rest of the day to get back up there. It's a decent runner up. Yeah, it's about 87 to go high. Yeah, that could be an interesting play, and it would look like this, right? It would be the number 3 hit, right along those lines. So keep that on your radar. And again, if we come up and we start basing at the open, again, look for a breakthrough 13,752. This could be one of those levels at 5 o'clock today. See where we print for like call spreads, right? If we can get a call spread ceiling in this area, that may be an opportunity to take this one short tomorrow. And again, play a European session move just like we saw today to the downside. Looking at YM. Okay, YM had the same turn. We were looking for this one to break. We got the pullback and a push back up again. And again, the European session got us. There's your European session turn. Again, drop this down to a 15-minute. There's your European session. Block off the movement right there. And you can see touch here at 6 o'clock. And there was your open sell to the downside. This one, again, if you'd gotten this one long yesterday, we talked about a break of 34,423. You were 2/3 of the way there. So again, depending on what product you use, your stop loss would have most likely been at break even in the overnight. Again, if you're up 2-1, there's no reason to hold that one. Move it to break even, you would have gotten stopped out, most likely in this range. Had you been playing this at the open, you could have absolutely played this with a 2-hour binary. This was a nice runner. This was about 193 points to the downside. Again, if you guys are familiar, again, one of the strategies that I talk about a lot of times are session opens, news releases, and then playing retracements. This would have been an opportunity, again, to play that 15-minute chart, Small duration binary. The reason why is because the strike differential is smaller. And again, within 2 hours, you had a decent run to the downside, pushing down to really down to, let's see, this is your 930. You're pushing from here down to 11, which is right there. So again, nice movement from here, 136 points to the downside. So again, nice little short duration binary off of the open, taking those out of the money. So right now, I'd say probably one more hit in that level. You know, it's very similar, like the ES and the NQ both have similar setups. It was the European Open kind of basing, and then the retest at 6, and then the open test this morning. But it's decent. And again, if you look from where we were yesterday, we talked about levels of buyers and sellers. There was the bounce for the morning, right? So if you wanted to take this one as a profit target, absolutely, we had it marked off yesterday. You should have been able to grab it. So those are levels we watch out for. I think there's probably one more trade higher, and then look for a punch up into the 34,582. Now, switching across, let me see. We know how about confessions? Confessions? I don't get that one. All right, Aussie dollar. Any wonder why the Aussie dollar dropped today? What time did it change? What time did this roll? Well, guess what? It rolled at 10:30. What happened at 10:30? Consumer confidence, right here. Okay, there's your 10 o'clock reversal time frame. So kind of the same thing. The reason why it's going down is, again, it provides a little bit of a little bit of stability for the dollar, right? There's no changes. Unfortunately, we missed a short here. We were talking about this one yesterday, and we were looking for this one to come up. This black line down here at 77.82 was it was an alert. We were looking for it. We wanted to come up to 77.83 for a short. We didn't get it, unfortunately. It based sideways. We could switch this over to a 30-minute. We don't need 15 for here. Unfortunately, we're kind of bracketed in. Those are the two that we're looking for, 76.95 and 77.83. You know, it's nice that we got a little rally up. It all it's done is push down, and it's run into an area of buyers. We really need to clear out. This is really more what it looks like. You can see that the Aussie dollar has literally been stuck going sideways. It's a decent range. I mean, the range is about, I don't know, range is about 90 top to bottom. So if you're able to catch it at one of the extremes, it's been great. But from where we were yesterday, you can see that the 24-hour pip change is 1 pip, right? 1 pip. Question I have for you is it, I don't know. I mean, is it worth trading when it's just 1 pip? Yeah, I mean, there's been smaller moves, but you got to be really, really careful. We're really looking for more movement. So anything we've gotten up has come right back down again. Really, the movement has been since the news, and it's about 30 pips. Again, dropping this one down into the 2-hour binaries was probably the way to play this one best today. But as of right now, are we going to see continued movement? The answer is, I don't know. I mean, what's the catalyst, right? There's not a lot of catalyst. It's sitting right in the middle of kind of that smaller range. You know, we know we're out of the pink area. We're in the blue, so we're already kind of in that kind of no man's land in the middle. You know, what do we have below? We got 2 areas of buyers. What do we got up top? We got a little bit of an area that's only sitting, 19 pips away. So it's kind of like, oh, you know, for me, and I mentioned if this, then that. Here's kind of that if this, then that, guys. I mean, you know, maybe you don't look at currencies, but if you know how to set alerts, and again, if you guys are not good with alerts, I'll give you guys a little kind of insider kind of pointer information. If you're not a currency trader, go over to IG. And again, if you're US, it's going to be like IG.us, I think .com or something like that. You guys will find it. Just type IG US, right? Open up yourself a platform. It's very, very similar to charting. It's almost exactly the same charting as what you have on the Nadex platform. It has a good alert ability in there. Go ahead and set yourself a whole bunch of alerts on a demo trade and inside of a demo account. And again, it's perfect for things like this, right? Get alerted, come back, look at it, see what time we hit it. Again, if we had Australian news tonight, this would be great. These would be great, two great little levels to buy or sell off of. We just don't have any Australian news tonight. So I think right now, Asian session is not going to be a mover, but set yourself an alert if you can stay up late. Either of these two extremes, I think, are decent levels. But right now, again, we're just really kind of any movement we gain in one direction, we're retracing right back again in the next section. So, or in this section. So it's just not enough movement. Aussie yen looks like it's a great level. Talked about it yesterday. We kind of had a level we were looking for basing wise. And again, here was the overall sell area. We had pushed up and we mentioned that right above that is probably decent. But 84.58, again, it's a decent runner, right? I mean, from where you would have entered, it's about 30 pips. Have to play with short duration binaries kind of the same way. And it looks great on this chart, but it's really kind of more kind of like this, right? It's more sideways. It's always great when I stretch it out and you're like, oh my gosh, look at all that movement. but in reality, it's kind of more like one of these things, right? In 24 hours, this one has also not really moved much. I talk about the 24-hour pip change because every pair or every asset that you trade has something called an ATR. Okay. I've done webinars in the past how to use the ATR. It's a way to determine what's possible, not what's probable, but what's possible for movement for the day. If you caught this short, you're probably already out. Is there going to be enough movement for the rest of today? Probably not. We're going to need some help from the end at this point, and I just don't see enough catalyst in there. And we have a level here where, we've had basing, it's supported, and we're seeing a green candle off that same level. And even if it does break that level, we got another one sitting right here that's supporting, and another one right here. So it's kind of for lack of a better word, we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. Noon today is not the best, but if it is an opportunity for you guys to get some learning out of this one, right? If we get to the US Open, a session change, which again, here is the US market open, right? 9:30 is right there, and the 10 o'clock candle is the spike for news, right? Being at one of these type levels at a session open / news release is how you get in. And again, the way to do it in the morning is with a short duration binary contract. Again, I will typically use out of the money a little bit. It helps me lower my risk and provide a better risk to reward scenario. That would have been how to play it this morning, but unfortunately, it's done for now. Euro pound. So Euro pound took a spike. Now, this is interesting. There was a couple different levels that we liked, and again, we were looking for this to retrace down. We were really looking to get in if price was able to touch 86.11. We did not get our entry. Our profit target was going to be at 86.45. As you can see, it had no problems climbing back up again. Unfortunately, it got stuck at this little tiny level, and that happens. And again, the ideal scenario for this trade would have been a 3 o'clock in the morning. 3 o'clock would have been right there. Okay. Had price been here at 3 o'clock, it was a no-brainer entry. You could have done with a short duration contract, or even use the 7 a.m. To play the true European session. It didn't. Unfortunately, it came up, and what did it do? It started basing right here, that 5-6 o'clock window. Whenever we start getting basing below a zone, it's typically going to break. Our next entry level up top would have been this D86.70. And again, that's exactly what it bounced off of at 9:30. Here's the US Open right there at 9:30. And you can see how this did nothing but roll back down again. You may say, why is this moving with the US Open? It's because it's a session opener, right? It's a lot of money coming into the market. You have the UK opener, and then you have the US opener, and that's the next big one. And again, it's been okay as far as a roll. 15 pips. Again, I don't expect it to move as much because this is really the window when you're going to trade it. And again, here's some learning potential for you guys, right? In the UK session, which is highlighted by blue right now, it moved 52 pips. Go in there and look to see what the shorter duration binary contracts are, how wide they are, and what type of opportunity there is. Was there opportunity today in Euro pound? Yeah, absolutely. And again, was there news with this one? The answer is yes. At 4 a.m. this morning, we knew we had this. We had good data, right? It came in better than expected at 4 a.m. And the response from 4 o'clock in the morning was right 4 o'clock, right here. Right there, basing, and it was a push up of about 32 pips. So could you have played that one with a 2-hour binary? Sure, absolutely. Right. Anything short duration during that time frame works out well, right? 2 hour, 7 a.m., a lot of different things you could have played. All right. Right now, there's not a whole lot. I would expect price to come back down in base. And again, there may be a short. If we get a break below the level here at 86.45, there could be a short entry on this one. Again, there are buyers. And again, remember, be cautious of those type of sawtooth effects right there. Whenever you see wick and then a higher wick and then a higher wick and then a higher wick and a higher wick, be cautious. Those are some buyers in there. But if we can break through that level, I wouldn't be surprised if we come back down and kind of test this level down here over at 86.10. Euro yen. Euro yen actually broke higher. Now this one came through, gave us a little bit of a retracement. We were looking for this one to pop, and this was one of those ones that had some strange timing. It started actually rallying at 2 o'clock this morning, came up and ended up punching through and testing back for that European data. I don't know if you can see it here. I think you can see it on the 15. Yeah. So there was the Harry Potter trade with news, right? We punched through. The 4 o'clock news came out. It pulled back down again. It grabbed that level and went higher. And again, when I say Harry Potter, for those people that are new, here's the Harry Potter pattern. When we end up having a breach of a zone, look for a pullback and a continuation. Now, I did offer some warning on this one. We were at a level where we had been tested. It had hit twice before. And again, is it the freshest? No, but we did have a test. And it was decent. It ended up getting front run right here. And then again, started the base and it was like, really? And again, this was a news push. So this is not one that I would have taken. Because again, we did have, it was so close together. It wasn't a 1 to 3, and it ended up going higher before kind of the profit taker stepped in. So it was kind of a textbook setup in here as far as what the pattern looked like. It wasn't good enough for me. It wasn't far for the long. And again, this spacing right here kind of, sometimes they go early and there's nothing we can do about it, unfortunately. But, would we have taken this level knowing that we had news in a little bit? The answer is no, right? It had popped through by the time the news had already come through. So it's one of those things that you got to worry about timing. Session entry is important. Session opener is important. But if you have news within 1 hour, again, you got to watch out for it. So right now, I would say that this one is probably more in retracement zone. So we know that this top level, again, you can see that it's basing in there right there. So let's hold this one for later, right? We're going to take the short off. I would say right now, really, let's see, that was at 9. That may be a short entry we take up top. This one I don't need anymore. I would say look for a retracement, probably back 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I would say that this one is probably set up for, I'd say that we probably have some profit taking coming in down here. So if you are short this trade, I would say that probably in this level here, 132.96. Now, I would watch out for this level. Let's see, the next 3 o'clock window would be right here. I think there's a potential bounce for us, right? Let's see, how much movement is that? Talking about, it looks like it's a lot here because I have it blown up. It's only 30 pips, okay? The daily ATR on this pair, do I not have it in here? Oh, let's throw indicators on. Yeah, there it goes. It popped up top. 66. So yeah, that's half a day's worth of movement. Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, so if we can get this to continue to grind back to the downside and be down here before European session open tomorrow, that'd be a decent trade, right around the 133 level, right? It's a psychological level. This zone's coming in at 132.96, 97. Let me see something real quick. Let me see. 132.97, 73. I was trying to see if there was a knockout down there for you guys, but it is a little bit far. There's a knockout that's a little bit lower, coming in at 132.73, which is right there. Change that to purple. That's our knockout color there. So there is, again, the test of this here comes in at this level. So I would say right now, depending on if we're here, again, this would be a binary trade setup. If we are a little bit lower here, there is actually a potential with a knockout bracket down there if you wanted to try that. And again, maybe not tomorrow, maybe later in the week, maybe on Thursday, this also has some potential to come off that level. Because it is an area we have some basing and we did sell out of it. And again, if we're in there, you're able to reduce your risk by getting a knockout that its floor is right below kind of where the risk zone is. It looks like a lot on here, but it's only like 5 pips. So you could take I don't know, like a 10 pip trade risk on this one, looking for something along these lines over here, right? Looking for something like, probably like that is where I'd put it off of. And then your 1 to 3 looks like something like that, right? Something along those lines. So I think either of those two is decent. There may be some potential setups for that later in the week. Looking at the euro dollar. So euro dollar, we talked yesterday about kind of breaking out of the zone that we really needed to leave it. And again, we got this kind of push up, and then immediately what did it do? Ran into some sellers. And again, this is the news. This is that early 2 p.m. rush. And then once the European news came out, it was great U.S. news. I'm sorry, great European news. But what did it do? It pulled back down again. So this pre-market, pre-release news move, all it was the European traders positioning themselves for that news to be able to take advantage of traders that are coming in late. So, right now we're kind of in the same area. I wouldn't say that we've really based that much. And again, am I surprised this broke? No. 1, 2, 3. This was number 4. And again, that's why we were looking for this top. But again, it moved before news even came out. It spiked up. The news came out. Right there. So a pre-market news spike is a telltale sign to take this one short. This one actually didn't move that much though. I mean, you're talking about 25 pips. from the morning time. With good news, yeah, it's not doing much. And all it did was run lower. So right now, I think there's a couple areas here that I think are decent. Obviously, we were still looking for a break top and bottom for this one. This is obviously, we had this as going a break through the top, and again, it did it before news, so it's not a trade that you would have taken. Just to clean it up, we'll take this one. Yeah, we'll take it off now, and we're going to adjust it just slightly. I would say there's obviously a zone here that we just bounced off of. I would say that this is almost set up more for a short at this point. Obviously, with inflationary numbers coming in, that gives us the potential to say, hey, listen, you got to do something about the dollar, right? If we don't see that transitory inflation, they're going to have to talk about raising, or when they will. That will bring dollar strength back into the market, and that should provide some type of a way to punch down. I do think there's a trade in here, and again, it's going to be one of those ones, for me at least, I would have to time it with like a European or a US-based session open. There's a lot of basing, so it's not really the cleanest level, and I think you may even better just use it off of this level here, because of all the basing. But taking this one short, and again, this is an if this, then that type based trade. If price is able to go through and break, we got about, it's a 1 to 3, probably some along those lines. I would say mark this one off, set yourself an alert. If you have a break here of 122.05, a lot of basing in here, right? We know there's something special about this area. Buyer supported it, but it has hit a few times. It comes through bases, look for a Harry Potter South. And again, I think profit targets to the downside on this one would be down here at 121.79. Pound yen. So pound yen was looking for a rollover. It didn't get to it. I mean, I was really happy with this. And then again, 7 o'clock this morning, the U.S. trader just stepped in and slashed it back down again. It's like, oh, come on, just stop bouncing off this zone. We missed the entry down here. We were looking for it to go a little bit lower. It didn't hit it today either, unfortunately. I still think the best entry is down here at 153.21, but we haven't been able to break out of the same zone. This one is looking like this. The pound yen is the biggest mover of the majors. It's moved 2 pips in 24 hours. And all it's really done is done what? It went up a little bit and then came right back down again. So, I mean, this was yesterday's move. U.S. market, European session. And that's it. And now we're stuck again. So there's just no catalyst right now for the pound. This is a very anemic week for the pound. We don't know anything coming out of it. It is affected by the yen. And again, the yen is kind of throwing everybody in for a kind of a loop right now, as far as what we see. The Japanese situation is not great. So again, seeing this yen strength come in really it's not really justified. But again, this number says everything we need to see right now. There's just no money to be made right now in the pound yen, when all it does is go up a little bit, come right back again in the same day. And even if you caught it from kind of the 7 o'clock window down, you're talking about 40 pips. Because it is the most volatile of pairs, it does have a greater strike width, so you got to be cautious with that one. So, yeah, I wish I had more for you there, but unfortunately we don't. Pound dollar, kind of the same thing. We're looking at tops, and again, this was one of those trades we talked about yesterday with about $5 worth of risk. This was actually a call spread that we talked about. This ended up being a 1 to 3. It wasn't a gigantic mover, but it was a 1 to 3 risk to reward ratio when the call spread closed out. And again, you guys can see here's 1, here's 2, here's 3. It pulled back again, and then 4 is what broke. And if you're wondering, there is a Harry Potter pattern here as well. As you guys can see, it broke through right here. It pulled back. Oops, I lost it. I had it there for a second ago, and there's your pullback. And then there is your punch higher. And again, that's what happens. Hit 1, hit 2, hit 3, and hit 4. Look for the breakthrough, punch back, and roll. This one was decent. It wasn't horrible. I mean, it was a run of about 42. Again, it came in right around that same time, about 2 o'clock. This one was a little bit different. It actually pulled back in preparation for the news. And then what happened with the news? It turned it, and just that was it. That was the roll point all the way down. It wasn't even pound news, but it was a kind of a, more of a European-based move. Now, we did miss entry on the bottom. When I looked at this earlier, I was like, oh, God, we were so close, and we missed the entry for the target. So not much we can do with the pound right now. As you can see, it's still within that range. It is kind of back in the green range again, where we are looking to go long. On the larger time frame, again, if I go up to a 4-hour, you guys can see it. We are deep in, right? We are deep at the extreme, right? The lower time frame, you can see it up here inside of there. Again, we're sitting in the green. So this is kind of a mixed number right now. I would say right now, I would expect for this to go a bit higher. We've seen dollar strength today. I don't think there's really anything really justifying the dollar strength. It's not like the situation in the pound has changed a lot. And there's been a couple headlines, but there's not much there. So, I mean, I would say right now, if you guys were looking for something, to potentially go long in, there can be a case made that right there would be a level coming in at approximately 41.26. Again, I am right now, in all transparency, I am a pound bull. I think their situation is great. I think they've got a handle on it. I think their recovery is going well. Um, I'm not necessarily concerned about any of the dollar news on this one because I do think that the pound strength is going to overtake everything else. We've seen pound weakness the last 2 days, which again, there's been no economic news, but I do believe they're much farther ahead than we are. So it's one of those things. I'm really looking for buying opportunities in the pound. I do believe that they are going to, I think they will kick up some strength later on this week as well, and I do think that they will push up. And I honestly will not be surprised, if we come through and break here. Um, this is a larger time frame level off of 143.40. I'm not going to be surprised when we bounce up that level. And again, that's quite a big mover. We're talking about 200 something pips higher. Not in one day, obviously, but I am looking for buying opportunities inside of the pound. Now, dollar CAD, it's the exact opposite. Again, we talked about needing to get out of this level, and you can see all we did is we literally rode along the bottom, right? There's the bottom level, right? And then here's obviously the top of that same channel, right? I mentioned we need to get out of this channel. It's literally, here's our short-term curve, right? Every time we touch in this third area, again, sellers step in. Every time we break into the bottom area where it's green, we had buyers step in, we had buyers step in, we had buyers step in. And again, this was the U.S. session open, but we're not really moving. Nothing's really changed in the dollar CAD. As you can see, we're minus 2 pips in 24 hours, so not a lot of opportunity in this one. And the full channel window from top to bottom is only about 45 pips. So the dollar CAD, unfortunately, while I do like the euro dollar and the pound dollar, I think the pound dollar has a very advantageous position in Nadex. The dollar CAD seems to be at a disadvantage. The strike widths are rather wide for a pair that doesn't move as much. So unfortunately, there's not as much trading opportunity. I still think 119.81 is a good level down south if we can get to it. We just got to be able to clear the sideways movement. And again, 2 pips in 24 hours. Is it the best usage of our time or our capital to try to play positions here? That's up to you, but my opinion is not really. There's better opportunity out there. Now, dollar Swiss is also kind of in a similar situation. This one actually had a level that it flirted with a few times. It ended up punching through and literally just retracing back again. This was kind of like a small minor trap, and this one turned at 5 o'clock in the morning. So was there really any driving force in the dollar Swiss to send this down? Not really, and all it did was it retraced right back up to where we were yesterday. So it's another one of those ones. Here's where we were yesterday at this time. We're at the exact same spot. And literally, we had one push down from the European sector session and then right back up again. There's no movement. So it's one of those ones that, is there great opportunity? Nah, not really. Not in my eyes. And again, had you gotten short here, it's kind of one of those ones. Could you have taken this one? Is there a binary trade in this one? You're talking about 19 pips since this morning. You didn't get stopped out because it's a binary position, but you only moved 19 pips. Could you have overtaken the 20 pip strike width? No, right? And again, I like this one for kind of big news. There was no big news today for this one, so there's not much we can trade with it. And even the rest of this week, I don't think there's much. So here is the dollar yen. We had a level mark down here. We talked about, it being a small level. We've touched it before. It was a European session move, right? I love this one. I'm really like, wait, why did this one move for the European session move? There's your 3 o'clock window right there. So it was a level that we had talked about. It was in the green level. We had seen buyers step in here. You guys could see, whoops, I just moved it. I hope I didn't move too much. Here's that level was formed last time. Here was it over here. Here was the stopping and the retracing the parabolic move. Touched it again. This was hit number 3. But again, session open. Third hit was still valid. Pushed up, and now we're kind of turning and rolling back down again. So I would say right now, dollar yen, I am more short than anything else. Is there a great setup for this one? Unfortunately, not really. I think dollar yen's a very difficult pair to play right now. You can see this is really more what it looks like. It's spent so much time here, and when it finally did move up, it took a long time to retrace. And then again, we had one other parabolic move. It retraced almost immediately and continued to push down and retrace the origin of the move. So this is where we were on the 12th. It's been 2 weeks, and we're in the exact same spot. As you can see, it's spent a lot of time within this window. It just has a hard time clearing it because there's no real true news. The only news this week that I think, preliminary GDP and maybe, I think the best opportunity to play this one this week will probably be the preliminary GDP number. If we don't get a lot of movement on the Thursday, maybe the Friday one, but I'd say probably Thursday morning is going to be our best bet. And the way to trade this one, I would say levels that I'd need to watch out for. Obviously, the 109.66, this one up top, decent sell, right? That's kind of an extreme. 108.22 is also a decent range at this point. I think either of those two are, if we're there before news, I think those are decent levels. The way that it's setting up right now, obviously we have this level here, this yellow one, and we have one up top. I would say at this point, the way that we've been moving sideways, I think either of these two could provide opportunity as well if we can get there on Thursday, right? Maybe doing something along these lines if we are there and sitting in that level before the news release. But besides that, we really don't have any strong levels to come off of. And again, is this the freshest 109? Nah, there's 3 hits right there. So ideally for me, it's 109.66 or down below at 108.22. I think either of those two are the ideal opportunity. So kind of my A ratings, and then again, my two middles are more left up to again, timing based trades. Trade this to yellow. All right, let's dive over and let's look at the commodities. All right, so yesterday, if you were part of our presentation, we talked about how we had an extremely low session for oil. And we mentioned when we have very, very small European sessions, we tend to have big US sessions. And we did. We had a monster session yesterday. Today, so far, again, we had a very compressed session again. We've had more movement, but it's been chopped back and forth. Again, this was basically one direction worth of candles. This one had a quick up, quick down, quick back up again. And again, we don't even have our API numbers for another couple of hours. I like where this one is tracking up to. I like that 66.82 level. This one is progressing well. And again, I think for the rest of today, if we can continue this same push, again, we're going to have pullbacks, right? Impulse corrections, impulse corrections, impulse corrections. I kind of like these two levels. And again, I'm looking for these for tomorrow morning. I would say the way that we can play these, and let me put this right on here. We'll do it at 3 o'clock right there. I'm looking for price to be here. Or here. Right there. I'm looking at one of these two levels tomorrow for the open. And I think either of these two provide short opportunities. I don't know which one's going to hold. And again, the 66.82 has been a pretty rock solid level in the past, but it has been tested. Okay. And again, if we grind through here at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, not really an area I want to get short with, at that time. But if we're here or here at European session at 3, I like both of those. Let me see real quick. Let me check the commodities knockouts on oil and see if either of those two is on 66.80. 67.25. Man, these are way out there. There's a 67.25 that's kind of in the middle here. That may be a bit deep. Yeah, it looks like we're gonna have to wait till tomorrow. So yeah, it's 66. Here, I'll put them on so you guys can see it real quick. There's a 66.25, or I'm sorry, 67.25 there. And then the next one higher is gonna be 68.25 there. So this one's a bit too far away. And again, maybe if we're up there, but I think this is a better one, but it's still, the risk is a bit, we're taking on an additional 25 cents worth of risk on that one. Maybe a little bit rough. So the way to play this one is probably going to be look at call spreads later on today, see where they're at, see where they are before you go to bed. But I'd be looking for a short out of either of these two levels tomorrow, particularly with what we're seeing so far. Looking at gold. So gold is finally pushed up. And again, this volatility with gold is because of what we saw this morning. Okay, there's been a lot more talk about inflation, them seeing it. And again, consumer confidence going down. Again, these are a lot of gold things. This is kind of the dollar being weaker. And again, everybody's talking about the inflation no policy. And again, clicking here, you guys can see negative rates still essential. Okay, that's the Swiss. Here's one from CNN. Inflation is back. Biden should be worried, right? So everybody's talking about inflation. The more things we talk about this, well, look, growth is being turbocharged by rock bottom interest rates and unprecedented fiscal stimulus. For many years, etc. Well, that's why gold is moving. So I'd expect this to go higher. I mentioned earlier in the week, I see 1900 as being a target for this week. Because again, the Fed just can't keep ignoring it. Once they say the word inflation or acknowledging inflation, it's going higher. But, with Barkin saying that our recovery's almost done, yeah, this one is, going up, in my opinion. Now, it did take a little bit of a bounce off the 1891. And again, I thought if we could tag this one with news, but unfortunately, the news was quite a miss at 10 o'clock today, and it rallied right into it and passed. So at this point, I think, again, if you had, you basically hit it, bounce to a 1.5 to 1, or just a little bit over 1 to 1. If you try to get short from this level, again, you're probably taking a loss now, or you got stopped out of break even. It's going to happen. I did not expect the consumer confidence number, and my rationale for this one was, again, the consumer confidence number being more negative. The way that it's coming right now, I think we hit 1900. Additional levels higher for this one. Really, I mean, you can see once we breach this level, not much on the 4 hour. Let me go down to an hourly. Yeah, I mean, there's no 1900 is a psychological level. I'm almost wondering if we get all the way up to here in this long 1905, probably 1910. Yeah, 1910 is sitting right around there. I would say we have a decent chance of hitting this one, right? And the reason why is because, again, you guys see how this is, there's a basing in there, and it's kind of and it came up and grabbed it, this clearing wick. It was grabbing orders that are sitting inside of a zone right there, right? And again, we don't have anything over here. 1900 is psychological. If we hit it, the news is going to be all over that. I think this one has potential through the rest of this week to really make it back up. 1910. Can we hit 1910 by the weekend? I think it's there. I think it's there. It's only about 15 bucks, so it's we can hit it in a day. So way to play this one. Again, this was a prior short at bust through. We can play a little Harry Potter if you guys want. Again, coming back up, coming back down, using that same level as risk, and then look for that one again to punch through. At 1900, maybe a level of some profit taking, but I think we have the potential to come all the way up to 1900. 1910 is where I think gold can go for this week. Silver, on the other hand, again, gold is moving more than silver. Kind of the same thing. We had a quick touch here at 2 a.m. It came down, and again, the news was unexpected, came back up into the same pull. Again, this was the short this morning. There was not another short set in there. 28.19 is the next time we have levels of kind of confirmed buying and selling. I think this one runs up to that level as well, which is what, about another 30 cents higher. It's not an extreme. Unfortunately, the extreme up top here was a little bit hard to kind of draw. If we had to do it, I'd say probably something along those lines in there. But again, if we can rally up that high, I don't necessarily know that I'd want to be shorting it either. Okay, but right now I think these are our decent levels. And again, we got to get it kind of out of this range. But next level, I would say profit targets. If you guys are long, profit targets at 28.19. I like those. But again, 1, 2, 3. Would I take it short from there? No, because we've already got our 3 touches. It comes up in bases. If you want to take this one long, you could also take this one from here up, right? Because again, why would we do that? Because of this. Whoops. There's 1. Oops. There's 2. And there's 3. So next one coming through is number 4. Got me? So again, profit target, not necessarily an entry target. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me see. Is there any questions? Nope, doesn't appear so. All right. So, like I said, today's a weird one. Reason why is we don't have a lot of catalysts for this week. We don't have a lot of levels. And as I said, there's a lot of people there's just a lot of non-movement right now. Really, I mean, look, Aussie dollar, nothing. Pound yen, and this one, the daily ATL on this one is about 110 right now, and there's no movement. This one is coming, euro dollar is coming back down at 23 is the biggest mover of the day. So I'm sorry, pound yen. I'm sorry, euro pound at 27. There's just not a whole lot of movement, and even the indices right now are, kind of look, 0.02, 0.00, 0.1. They're all kind of coming back flat again. So, this is why I love news trading, because it's very, very easy to see that, hey, listen, we don't really have any of it. What could move the market? And the answer is not a whole lot. Again, just watch out for those. And in fact, let's see something real quick. Crude oil, this one is coming down. 59% of people are short. That one's coming down. Wall Street 63. That one's coming down. Gold 73. It's not quite as high as 80. 80 was kind of where it was, and then everything else is kind of stuck in that middle range. So, yeah, it looks like everything is coming back out to 50-50. So the market is, they're not at a loss. They see that there is no stimulus. So, like I said, look for the API numbers. Look for tomorrow morning. Look for the European session move. And hopefully crude oil gives us a good shot tomorrow. We need a big mover tomorrow. So hopefully we're able to get it. So with that said, guys, if you have any questions, again, make sure you mark your calendars for, I can't believe I'm saying this, Tuesday, June 1st. It's like, wow, it's unbelievable. June 1st, next week. If you have any questions for me, If you have any questions for me, you're more than welcome to shoot me an email, support@keeptradingsimple.com. If you have any questions about Nadex, go ahead and go over there and shoot support a question there. On a slow day like this, I always get asked, like, what do you do when the market doesn't move like this? The answer is I do my extra homework. I end up putting my levels on. I put my call spreads on. I put my, some of the weekly binaries on there. I like to know where they're at, particularly for late in the week. And again, know where all your knockouts are. I don't have them on this chart, but again, put your knockouts on there so you can make easy trades that don't take a whole lot of time later on down the road. So with that, I'm out of here. You guys have a great one, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning for the Nadex presentation at 8:45 a.m. on YouTube. Take care.